During the war, the Americans tried to bomb parts of the German industry that were vital to their war effort. Airplane bodies, and then ball bearings factories, key things that could bring the whole German war effort down. And the Germans realized and began to move the factories. They hid them in forests, and they dispersed them around so no single bombing raid could destroy them. And then, after the war, the Americans started to think, what would happen if bombs were dropped on their own cities? They were thinking about Hiroshima and Nagasaki, too. It's not just that a bomb could take out a vital factory. It could take out a whole city and destroy all the factories in that city. Once the Soviets had the bomb, that was a threat. So you couldn't have industries vital to the war economy together in the center of a city. Or they could all be taken out all at once with a single nuclear bomb. So American planners started to think about how to disperse the different vital industries, to take them away from the center of the city, spread them around. It's one of the ways wartime planning just carried on after the war. It was still a war economy. Everything was and is planned for possible war. So they planned to move industries out from the cities. They moved factories out from their center. They encouraged businesses, essential industries, to relocate to new suburbs. And it was supposed to be good for the workers, too. They would be moved to new homes. They'd have new low-density suburbs with trees and parks. They'd be able to get around by car. Everything could be joined up by the new freeway system. Much thought and care went into planning all of this. They drew up lists of all the key industries using industrial classifications of all different industries that already existed. They painstakingly drew up lists of everything vital to the war machine. They had to think of everything, of all the different things that people made.
The crew working together as an integral unit and knowing a lot about each other and understanding each other was a very key component of the human engineering that went into the system in the first place. Because in order to make sure that we're all going to do our job, if Armageddon happens, we have to know each other, we have to be able to rely on each other. No matter what you think about communism or a capitalist democracy, or however you want to characterize us, the United States and the former Soviet Union during the Cold War, I do believe that what it came down to is ordinary people doing their best at an extraordinary job. I didn't spend my days obsessing over Armageddon. If you do that, you become paralyzed. You can't do your job. I completely believed in and bought into the mission of peace through deterrence. If we did our job, I'm never going to have to launch this missile. There's never going to be Armageddon. I don't need to worry about that. I need to worry about what's right in front of me right now and get that job done.
Do you think it was that you had to buy into peace through deterrence to be able to do the job?
I know that I did in order to be able to do the job. I am not so naive as to think that there was not some war plan somewhere where the Titan II would be part of a preemptive strike. But that was not, by and large, its role or its function. It's just, if you just want to demonstrate your resolve to use nuclear weapons, you're not going to use a Titan II, because the devastation that creates, there's no walking back from that. And so I don't know if I would have been able to do it if I knew firmly that, okay, this is a first strike weapon. This is what our mission is. But I know that I was able to do it because of peace through deterrence. We felt that we were able to do the job. I mean, that's part of training and drilling all the time and testing all the time. You're constantly demonstrating to your superiors, but also to yourself, okay, I know how to do this. It didn't, for me anyway, make it any less stressful. Oh, I got this. You know, that was never my mindset. It's like, oh, I was more the one going, please don't let this be the day that I screw up, is, you know, more my mindset. I only thought about it after. I didn't think about it then. You're doing it then. From the outside looking in, being a Titan II launch officer is sort of a very hawkish kind of job. Militaristic. And a lot of people make assumptions about people who can do that kind of job, okay? And so I learned that you have to be careful who you talk about, who I talk to about it. At one job, I was working for an attorney's office in the local municipality. And some of the people in the office knew what my prior background was, and they thought it was interesting and kind of cool. And this one woman who was further left-leaning, more tree-hugging than me, somehow it came up one day in some conversation she was having with somebody that, this was Yvonne's prior job. And the next thing I know, this attorney is in my cubicle and she's confronting me. How could you do this job? What were you thinking? I liked you. What? I'm just so stunned that you could do this. That was awful. And I just looked at her and said, you don't know anything about the job, and what you think you do know, who do you want to do it? Somebody who's not going to jump the gun? Or do you want some cowboy doing it? What do you want? I'm the best kind of person to do that job. Thank you. And she just turned around and walked away. And, so you just don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get. We cannot, as a world, survive without care for one another. But it's not just one another. We have to care for the planet. And care for me is caring for everything. And it's thinking about the consequences of your actions. And sometimes there's just no way to do what has to be done other than to do it the way that's in front of you. And then you have to atone for that, in my opinion. But care and kindness, I think, for me, are intertwined. And they're kind of a state of being.
So, do you think Titan was an act of caring and kindness?
I think Titan, no. Okay. Mutual assured destruction. MAD. That is like the best acronym ever devised for anything. Okay? We developed nuclear weapons out of humankind's worst impulses. Greed. You can't put a pretty face on that. The reason the United States developed nuclear weapons and invested everything it had in strategic deterrence is because it knew that to provide civil defense for enough of our population to withstand an incoming first strike, that to protect them, to provide for them in the future, would bankrupt the country in the present. The only option we had, once this hideous thing was out of the bottle, was to try and contain it. And it's counterintuitive to think that you contain it by letting it grow large, but that's what we did. So in that sense, I guess you could say it's caring. And the people who developed nuclear weapons didn't fully understand what they were doing exactly when they did it. I mean, some of them did, but the majority of the people who worked on the first atomic bombs were appalled at the results of their work, and they wanted it all shut down. And I think you would find that most of the people who worked in missiles, we would all get in line to abolish nuclear weapons if we thought everybody else was going to do it. But there's an argument that is out there for keeping the land-based missiles. It's called the missile sponge. And it essentially is that, oh no, you want to keep the land-based missiles because your enemy cannot afford not to destroy those missile sites. It will take X number of their nuclear weapons to do that. And that is X number of missiles that will not be aimed at Cincinnati or Detroit or whatever. Just even saying that out loud is, it's just ludicrous, but these are all the different moving pieces. MAD. I mean, there are so many reasons that acronym is perfect.
Yeah. I just don't know what to say after that. It's great.
Not what you expected, is it?
Is there anything that you wanted to say or ask us? Because unless you can think of.
No, I'm just feeling a bit blown away.
Yeah,
in a nice way.
Use of words.
Yes, I know.
No, excellent use of words.
Yeah, I'm a bit blown away too. Yeah.
So why? I mean, I'm not what you expected?